Welcome back, dear friends, to your daily dose of ancient wisdom. Today we continue the reading of Srimad Bhagavatam Mahapurana, Book 3 or Tritiya Skandha, Discourse 13, which talks about the Lord's descent as divine boar. Sri Sukha continued. On hearing this most sacred discourse from the lips of the sage Maitreya, who was proceeding with the same, O king, Vidura made the following inquiry again, fond as he was of hearing the stories of Bhagavan Sri Krishna, son of Vasudeva. Vidura said, having secured a spouse after his own heart, O sage, what did Emperor Swayambhuva, the beloved son of Brahma, the self-born, do next? Full of reverence as I am, please narrate to me, O most pious Maitreya, the story of that royal sage, the first sovereign of the globe, since he had taken refuge in Vishwaksena, Lord Vishnu lit, the universal Lord, or he who exerts his power all round. The highest reward, commended by the wise, of learning acquired by men with great pains extending over a long period, is to hear the praises of those who have installed the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna, the bestower of liberation, in their heart. Sri Sukha went on. When Vidura, who was full of modesty and had the honor of bearing in his lap the feet of Sri Krishna, who was no other than the thousand-headed Purusha, spoke thus and urged Maitreya to the narration of Lord's stories, the sage's hair stood erect, and he replied to him as follows. Maitreya said, when Swayambhuva Manu came into existence with his consort Saptarupa, he bowed respectfully to Brahma, the repository of the Vedas, and addressed him thus with joined palms. You are the one undisputed father, progenitor, as well as sustainer of all living beings. Yet, in what way can we, your children, be of service to you? We make obeisance to you, O praiseworthy Father. From among duties we may be found capable of kindly prescribe that by discharging which we may enjoy celebrity all around in this world and a happy destiny in the other. Brahma replied, may all be well with both of you, O sovereign of the globe. I am pleased with you, my son, since with a glorious heart you have of your own accord surrendered yourself to me with the words, enjoin me what to do. The way in which sons should offer worship to their fathers, my valiant son, is only this, that free from jealousy towards their brothers, they should reverently and dutifully carry out his behest to the best of their ability, begetting through her issues that may prove to be your compeers in virtue. Therefore rule over the earth with righteousness and worship the Supreme Person through sacrificial performances. The best service you will be doing to me will be through the governance of the people. O ruler of men, Lord Srihari, the controller of the senses, will be pleased with you when he sees you looking after your subjects. Their labors prove of little avail who fail to win the pleasures of Lord Janardhana, who reveals himself in the form of sacrifices. For that way they disregard their own self, who is no other than the Lord. Manu said, I shall abide by your command, O destroyer of sin. Kindly assign an abode to me as well as my progeny, my Lord. The terrestrial globe, which is the abode of all living beings, stands submerged in the vast expanse of water. Efforts should be made, my Lord, to recover the goddess earth. Maitreya continued, finding the earth submerged in water, as at the time of the final dissolution, Brahma taxed his brain for a long time as to how he should be able to lift her up. Even as I was engaged in pushing on the work of creation, he said to himself, the earth, which was all the time being washed by the waters, sank to the lowest depths. Now, what should be done in the manner by us who have been charged with the work of creation? Let the Lord, from whose heart through I sprang, contrive some device for me. As he was thus reflecting, a tiny boar, just as big as a thumb, emerged all of a sudden out of his nostril. O sinless Vidura, while Brahma stood looking on, the boar in the air instantly grew to the size of an elephant. O Vidura, descendant of Bharata, this was really most wonderful. Beholding that strange form of a boar, Brahma with Marichi and other Brahmanas, Sanaka and his three brothers, and Swayambhuva Manu speculated about it in various ways. Who can be this weird creature standing in the guise of a boar? Oh, how strange that it came out of my nostrils. Even though at first sight it looked only as big as the upper part of a thumb, in an instant it grew to the size of a huge rock. Might it be Lord Vishnu himself who was exercising my mind? While Brahma was thus pondering along with his sons, the Lord presiding over sacrifices, for the boar was none other than he, who now looked at like a huge mountain, roared aloud. The all-powerful Srihari delighted Brahma and those foremost Brahmanas by his loud roar, which made the quarters resound. Hearing the roar of the Lord disguised as a boar, which removed their perplexity, the sages who all belonged to the Janaloka, Tapoloka, or Satyaloka began to extol him through the holy mantras of the three Vedas. The Lord, whose form has been glorified in Vedas, took the tribute paid to his virtues by these holy men as Veda itself. He gave a loud roar once more, and sporting like a lordly elephant, entered the waters in interest of the gods. The divine boar, the savior of the earth, who was possessed of steel-like frame, and whose skin had a thick coat of stiff bristles, first sprang into the air, erecting his tail and shaking his mane, and tore the clouds with his hoofs. He shone most splendid at that time, with his white tusks shedding a lustre wherever he cast his glance. Having disguised himself as a boar, even though he was no other than Lord Narayana, representing all sacrifices in his own person, he went smelling about with his nose in search of the earth, and even though possessed of fearful tusks, he regarded with a gentle look the Brahmanas, Marichi, and others who were extolling him, and dived into the water. With its bowels torn open by the headlong plunge taken by his body, which resembled a mountain of adamant, the ocean thundered aloud, and tossing up its high waves like so many arms, cried as if it were in distress, "Protect me, O Lord of sacrifices." Cleaving the waters with his hoof, which were sharp as arrows, the Lord, who represents all sacrifices in his person, then reached the other end of that fathomless ocean, and discovered in the depths of it the terrestrial globe, which is the abode of all living beings, and which the Lord had absorbed into his body while about to retire at the end of the previous kalpa. The Lord shone most resplendent as he rose, lifting up the earth on his tusks out of the depths of the ocean where it had been lying submerged. While he was yet in those waters, a demon, Hiranyaksha by name, of irresistible powers, assailed him with his club in order to obstruct his way. This excited his fury, which blazed forth like his discus Sudarshana, and he playfully disposed of him even as a lion kills an elephant without any exertion. With his temple and snout stained by the demon's blood, he presented the appearance of a lordly elephant, that had just turned up the earth of a mound of red oak. Even as Lord, who was dark as the tamala tree, lifted the earth out of the water on the ends of his white tusks like an elephant carrying a lotus on his tusk, dear Vidura, Brahma the creator and others recognized him and, joining palms, waited upon him with hymns of praise that closely resembled the Vedic mantras. The sages said, "Victory, victory to you, O invincible Lord, the promoter of sacrifices. We make obeisance to you, even as you shake your own divine body consisting of the three Vedas in order to free it from the moisture. We bow once more to you, who have assumed the form of a boar with a special object, that of rescuing the earth, and in the pores of whose bristles lie hidden the various sacrifices. This form of yours, O Lord, made up as it is of sacrifices, is one that cannot be easily perceived by the sinful. The various Vedic mantras like Gayatri find place in your skin. The holy kusa grass is your bristles, clarified butter in your eyes, and the functions of the four priests, the hota and others, in your forelegs. The cirque, or a sort of large wooden ladle used for pouring clarified butter into the sacrificial fire, is located in your snout. The shruva, the smaller ladle used for pouring clarified butter into the cirque, O Almighty Lord, finds a place in your nostrils. The ida, a dish or plate from which the food is taken at the sacrifice, exists in your belly. The kamasas, or the vessels used at sacrifice for drinking the soma, generally of a square shape, made of wood and furnished with a handle, abide in the cavity of your ears. The prasistra, a vessel in which the Brahma share is poured, exists in your mouth, and the grahas, or the ladles or vessels employed for taking up a portion of some fluid, especially of soma, or the larger vessel, is in your throat. And your act of chewing, O Lord, constitutes the Agnihotra, or pouring oblations into the sacred fire. Your repeated descents into the world of matter is what is known as Diksha in Ishti, the offering of oblations into the sacred fire at the time of consecration for a sacrifice. The three Ishtis, known by the name of Upasads, which precede the Sutya, or pressing of Soma, in a Jyotis Soma sacrifice, constitutes your neck. The Pranayana Ishti, which follows the Diksha or consecration, and the Udayana Ishti, which is performed at the end of a sacrifice, are your tusks. The Pravargya, the ceremony called Mahavira, performed at the beginning of every Upasad, forms your tongue. The Sabhya and Avasthya, fires from your head, and the putting of the bricks in the layers of rows for the preparation of a sacrificial altar, constitute your vital airs, revealed as you are in the form of sacrifice. Your generative fluid is the soma, and your sitting posture constitutes the sacrificial rites performed thrice in the morning, at midday, and in the evening every day. The seven constituents of your body are the seven classes of main sacrifices, namely Agnistoma, Atyagnistoma, Utkta, Sodashi, Vajapeya, Atiratra, and Aptroyama sacrifices, while the joints of your body constitute all the Shastras, or series of sacrifices continued for a number of days. In this way, you combine in your person all the yajnas, or sacrifices in which the soma is not used, and kratus, those in which soma is used, the tendons of your body forming the various sacrifices. Hail, hail to you who represent in your person all the mantras or sacred formulae employed, the deities worshipped, and the materials used by the way of oblations in a sacrifice, as well as all the sacrificial acts and other activities. Nay, you also embody the wisdom gained through dissipation, devotion, and self control, and are our teacher, imparting all sorts of knowledge. Hail, hail to you, borne by you on the pointed ends of your tusks, O Lord. The earth with its mountains, O supporter of the globe, shines resplendent like a lotus plant with leaves supported on the tusks of a lordly elephant emerging from water. Again, with the terrestrial globe supported on the tusk, this boar-like form of yours, which consists of the three Vedas, Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, and Sama Veda, looks as charming as the beauty of a huge mountain with a mass of clouds hanging on its summit. Kindly place this mother of the entire animate and inanimate creation, who is your spouse, firmly on the water in order to make her habitable for all. For you are their father. Then we shall make obeisance to you as well as to her in whom you have deposited your seed in the form of sustaining power, even as the sacrificer invokes the sacrificial fire in the arani, the pieces of wood used for kindling of the fire by attrition with the chanting of sacred formulae. Who else than you, O Lord, could venture to lift up the earth that had sunk into the lowest depths of water? This is, however, nothing miraculous for you, the abode of all wonders, who have created the most marvelous universe by your Maya, or the wonderful creative energy. When you shook your body composed of the Vedas, we, the inhabitants of the Janaloka, Tapoloka, and Satyaloka, got splattered and thoroughly departed by the drops of holy water flying from the end of your mane. Alas, he has verily lost his wits who seeks to know your endless exploit in their totality. O Lord, bring happiness to the whole universe, which stands deluded through the contact with the objects of senses brought about by your Yoga Maya. Maitreya resumed, while being thus extolled by those sages through the verses closely resembling the Vedic hymns, the protector of the universe in the form of the boar placed the earth on the surface of the water which supported his hoofs. Having thus placed on water the earth which he had sportfully lifted up from its depth, the Almighty Lord Srihari, the protector of all beings, went out of sight. Lord Janardana is quickly pleased in his heart of hearts with him who thus listens to or narrates with devotion the blissful and charming story of Srihari, the very thought of whom rids one of all sorrows and sins, and whose sportsful activities are all worth recounting. What is hard to obtain when he who is capable of granting all our desires is pleased? So have done with such blessings as are of little value, for on those who adore him with their mind exclusively fixated on him, the Supreme Lord, who is seated in the hearts of all, confers his high estate of his own accord. Having known the real worth of all the objects of human pursuit, and having once quaffed with the cup of one's ear the nectars of Lord's stories, sifted from among the old legends, the nectar which ends the cycle of births and death, who in this world would feel suffocated unless he is other than a human being. Thus ends the 13th discourse in Book 3, narrating, among other things, the descents of the divine boar of the great and glorious Bhagavata Purana, otherwise known as Paramahamsa Samhita. Thank you.